The frame of the car is done. The wiring and the air piping is done, so that meant we could do the next logical step was to put the deck on. The deck from one end to the other was a tongue-and-groove oak, approximately 2 inches thick. Because the locomotive lived outside most of its life, in fact, I don't think they ever stored it inside, but that's just my feeling. The oak that was outside of the roof hood, which stopped right here, had deteriorated to the point that it was all taken off and replaced, and I think it was by Seashore. They did use oak, but they did not use tongue and groove, and they nailed it down in a kind of a crude fashion. We were able to salvage the wood within the cab, even though it's somewhat beat up. It does have the footprints, as you can see, of the original operators. And the wood under the hood, which is this area right here, and especially this end, was well preserved because it had the air compressor here and it leaked oil, so it saturated the wood to the point that there was no rot at all on it, or no rot, significant rot anyway. And so we will use that area, the center of the cab, a little bit on the other end, hood on the other end, and then this right here will be original. This gray piece is a part of the frame to which the cab goes, is anchored. We had to destroy the original partly because it was not very good to begin with, and also because it's the only way we could get it apart. But we figured out what it should be, and there it is. Now, we did know that the side, that the decking extended some distance beyond the end of the cab, and we had done a lot of measuring back and forth, and what we finally determined was that it would overhang, and I'm going to measure it so we'll know what we came out with, about 1 3/4 inches from the sill on both sides. And we went back and forth until we came up with a compromise that the decking that we had would line up with this piece that tops the sill all the way around. And then the decking, which was cut to a specification of length, will be exactly long enough, and we will trim it all along. Now, one of the things that we had to do on this decking was, you don't see it in the picture here, and I don't know whether we have shown that or not, but there's all kinds of bolts sticking up here that had to be, we had to carve the back out. Actually, Phil Morris had to chop mortises out in the back so that everything sat level. And then we decided on like the other wood we were talking about on the cab, these were irregular in width. Now when Barnstormers made it for us, I think they ended up with 2 different widths. One was 4 5/8 inches wide, and the other was
5 1/8 or something like that.
Okay, 5. And then we had a wider piece here, which is about 8 inches wide.
Yeah.
So by going back and forth and trying various combinations, Phil Morris was able to come up with this, and then we forced it all together, and eventually we will nail it down as it was originally.